everyone, I'm back again and super grateful to have you watching today's video. So today I want to talk about a concept that I've been just really starting to learn about more on a like a really direct note. I think as I learn about spiritual bypass, which is the concept I've heard about, hadn't really studied too much into it, but as I do study and learn more about it, I just realize it's just great to put language to different things that we may have already been kind of acutely aware of. But I really want to talk about today's message because it's one that I see so many of us kind of be a bit blind to, and we can be coming from really beautiful, great intentions with such heart, but we can be missing the fact that we're actually preventing ourselves from having the growth that we actually need to as individuals. And I see this time and time again, and I've definitely fallen into this trap. But I really want to have a discussion with you guys about this today in the hope that it serves you, that it wakes you up so that you can become the best person that you can possibly be in this lifetime and not bypass some of the growth of your potential. All right, so today's message is to stop spiritually bypassing your own healing through the misuse of your vulnerabilities. All right, so this is going to be a powerful one that I hope you'll hear from me and take into your heart and actually like get the value from this one. All right, so at the end of the day, let me paint a picture. So what is spiritual bypassing, right? So when I talk about spirituality, I'm not actually a religious person. When I talk about spirituality, I talk about something bigger than just yourself, all right? I talk about spirituality as transcending just the body or just the emotions or just the mind, and actually connecting to something much bigger and grander, and you know, realizing that there's something larger at play than those other kind of you know, limited kind of arenas of life that are all absolutely valuable, all right? But we need to, in order to live a truly fulfilling life, we want to know that we have somewhere further to grow to, creating more meaning and significance in our lives and reaching for a higher level of our purpose and potential, all right? So that's what I'm talking about in a general realm when I'm talking about spirituality. All right, so at the end of the day, a lot of us that I'm seeing right now are bypassing our spiritual development, right? Getting to something bigger than just yourself. And we do it in a few different ways. So I'm not going to go into depth with this because it's not my area of expertise. I'm only going to be sharing with you guys what I do know and what I've had some experience with. But basically, you could look at spiritual bypass. There's many different realms that could be taking place in. But it's the tendency to use spiritual ideas or practices to sidestep or avoid facing your unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks that you could be engaging in with your personal development. All right, so some of the ways that you might see this come out, and you might have people in your life, you might be this person yourself, is an overemphasis on the positive. Now, I see this time and time again, and it almost breaks my heart because, you know, it's just this, and I've been in this trap too. So everything I'm talking about, it's no judgment. I'm talking about from my own perspective as well, right? This overemphasis on everything positive, right? And that there's a good and a bad, and we have to always be positive and never negative, right? That is in itself a spiritual bypass, and it's really destructive. Another one is being overly self-sacrificing. All right, now this is really, this is a pandemic. I know we've got one going on in the world right now, but this overly sacrificing nature where we give, we don't know how to receive. And so what happens is we get into burnout, and then we retreat from the world, and then we come back and we just don't know any sort of balance or middle ground. It's just over giving and then total burnout. And so definitely when we're overly self-sacrificing, Also, oversharing publicly without healing sufficiently. This is a really powerful one in which I've had to navigate time and time again and still do, where it's like, oh, that point of where do I want to be just totally transparent and authentic and share my genuine experience and vulnerability. But there's a fine line that you walk where you share vulnerably in a public space. And, you know, there's the fine line between where are you doing the work to heal yourself? You know, have you got close people in your life who are supporting you to heal and understand and grow and develop as a human being based on the challenges that have left you with some wounds or some vulnerability? Or are you using the public space to just kind of project out, your unresolved wounds and your vulnerability, and you kind of just, regurgitating that out and just throwing it onto the world without sufficiently doing the healing work that you need to do. And that's kind of going to be my main focus for today's conversation, is around this key point of, oversharing publicly without healing sufficiently. But there's another couple of ways that I want to share with you about this spiritual bypass, because that might not click with you. We're all going to have these different ways in which we do bypass the kind of growth and progression that we need to have individually. But there's also people who are disconnecting from the world. This is the meditator who goes and lives in a cave away from society, disconnects from family, friends, society, and even humanity as a whole, right? And feel like they're so spiritually developed and so connected to something bigger, but actually they're actually bypassing their own growth and development. Because if you can only be at peace by yourself, alone, in isolation, but then the moment you're with other human beings, you're just triggered and you don't like being around it, you got some work to do, right? That ain't normal or healthy, right? So we've got to look at this spiritual bypass as, might have great intentions, but are you actually doing the work so that you're not attached or detached from anything that's actually going to be good for you as a human being. And also another one is intellectualization. God, that's a mouthful. But where we can overvalue the intellect. Now, this has been one that's been a huge one for me, because I love, unpacking and analyzing and, just dissecting why things are the way that they are. And at times that's disconnected me from how I actually feel about things, right? So it can disconnect me from different realms of myself and get me into thinking that I know it, but like, have I actually felt into it? Have I actually like really fully experienced the full spectrum of it, right? So there's all these different angles that we could be taking in order to bypass the work that we need to do, the healing that we need to have. But the one that I really want to share with you guys today is kind of twofold. So there's a lot of us out there who are, so we've got the work to do, but we're trying to tell other people to do that work and we're not doing it. Now, I had a very recent experience with this, and I see this many times, but when I talk to other amazing individuals doing beautiful work in this world, I'm always really interested in terms of what the work they do in their own lives is, because we can all talk a big game, but are we actually implementing it and applying it? And I met somebody recently who, they even had me under their guise, right? They were so good at knowing what to say, at talking the talk. But as I got to know that person more personally, it was just like, whoa. There is so much incongruence here. And this person, like many of us, was actually using their knowledge and the words that they had to say, and they were using that and trying to help other people with that as a form of bypassing their own growth and work that they needed to do as an individual. And they were very incongruent as a person who wasn't in front of a screen, right? So that's another way. And we can be very, very blind to these ways that we are avoiding, our own growth. That key one that I want to bring us back to is the oversharing publicly our vulnerabilities that we haven't healed sufficiently, right? So this is a big one. I fall into this occasionally as well, where I just want to show up and I just want to be authentic, and I'm committed to sharing a message regularly with you guys. So, sometimes I do show up, and the other day I got really emotional on one of these lives, and I hadn't healed sufficiently, but yes, I hadn't healed sufficiently at that point, but I have been focused on the healing behind the scenes. And if you guys watch me over time, like I'm not where I was a couple of days ago, right? Because I've been doing a lot of work on myself to understand what my disillusionment was, in that live that I did, what was going on for me. And I've got multiple coaches that I've been working with, 3 in fact this week, 3 different perspectives that I've been working on the same concept with, and it's allowed me to get some of the deepest insights that I've ever had, so that I can be authentic. And then this concept around our vulnerability. So what's the point where our vulnerability becomes a strength that can support others rather than being projected on others and potentially burdening them with having to make us feel okay, because we're not doing the work sufficiently within ourselves, right? So there is a point. So when you start to heal what's a vulnerability to you, it becomes a strength that you can then share with the world, right? And have a positive impact. But so many of us, particularly in this industry, are oversharing our vulnerabilities before we've sufficiently healed them, so they don't land in the same way that they could, in terms of helping and supporting other people and encouraging other people to do their own growth work, because we're not fully doing the work ourselves. So, a lot of us are sharing these things with the right intentions, and we want to be authentic, but I think the key is here that we have to look at where is that point where that vulnerability can transition into a strength through our own personal healing and the work that we're doing, so that then we can share publicly, here's what was going on, here's what I did to transition, here's where I am now, and here's what you could be doing to support yourself if you find yourself in the same scenario. Right? That's a much more authentic place to be sharing from than projecting your unresolved vulnerabilities into a public space and, making us all feel a bit uncertain and shaky and where's the direction. And it's a tricky conversation. There's a lot of gray area here, but I just felt called to talk into this with you guys today because I'm seeing it so many times over and over again, and it's a conversation I have with myself all of the time, particularly when I go through challenging times like I have recently in my life. So I hope that me sharing a little bit about, this concept around spiritual bypass has actually helped and supported you, maybe expanded your mindset. And, at the end of the day, we can be so deceptive of ourselves. I'm going to be putting a post out later on today, which is around this concept of self-deception. And it's very much connected to our spiritual bypass. At the end of the day, we want to be living a life where we can grow and we can evolve and we can reach for our potential and we can end up contributing at our highest levels. But the only way that we're going to be able to do that is through the work and through the healing that we absolutely need to do, instead of sidestepping or avoiding that work that we need to do and, kind of creating an image or there's so many different angles that we take in order to bypass that work that we need to do. And it's just so it's kind of scary because I've recently been awoken to different ways in which people are showing up in a very incongruent way, and I've had to really take a step back and look at how I show up, look at the people that I learn from, how they're showing up, and it's just been a huge wake-up call, which has been very, very empowering, kind of painful, you know, to fall out of the clouds of idealism and get into realism, but very, very much a wake-up call, and it's brought into my sphere of wanting to learn and grow this concept around spiritual bypass, which I hope has supported you as well. All right, I definitely want to check in with you guys. Drop me a comment. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Have you got any questions or words of wisdom that you want to contribute to the conversation? I absolutely always love to hear from you guys, but let me check in and say hi. I've got Lisa and Yvonne and Steve and DB and Judy and Biok, good to see you, and Julie and DB, good day V. Hope all is well. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. Thank you so much, my friend. I'm doing really well. I'm about to do a bit of an interview with one of amazing human being. I'll let you know later because it's going to be recorded on Zoom, and I'll get it out somehow as well. But that will be fun. And thanks, DB. Hope your day is amazing as well. And Moiro, hello to you, and Ty and Patty and Jeremy and Farine and Sedet and George and Alex and DB. That was perfect. I appreciate V. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too as well. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you guys who could join me live today. I hope this message has kind of just got your brain thinking and you're in contemplation about the ways in which you might be, you know, bypassing your own growth and development and the healings that you need to do. And I'm telling you now, like, if you really, really, really want to live a fulfilled life, the best strategy is self-honesty and really looking at yourself and why you do the things that you do in, you know, really in just a truthful, compassionate mindset and viewpoint. And it will allow you to wake yourself up sooner rather than later so that you can do the work to reach your highest potential and your highest levels of fulfillment. All right, so that's my message. I can see Vanessa's just joined us. I hope you catch the recording, get a ton of value from today's message, because I'm about to sign off. But as always, I'm sending you guys all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I really do hope that it's beautiful, amazing, extraordinary, and you're doing something super empowering, and that today's message has definitely served you. I just want to thank you again for joining me live. Hope this has served you. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Much love.